Morning, guys. I was not going to do a Fleabay edition at all. I sat down here this morning to edit the little video I shot about building it's part 2 for building the 10 and 12 inch lathe change gear stud 9-69A is the number on it. Part 1 we did a quick and dirty conversion of a carriage bolt over to make that bolt, and then on part 2 I turned one from solid stock just to be virtually the same as a factory one. So I sat down to edit that this morning, and I thought, well, I better look and see if there was any parts that I needed very quickly. And there's nothing I was looking for, but there's a few things here, just a very few things that kind of caught my attention, and I thought I'd point out some high prices, a couple of new sellers. So I'm not going to spend very long here. This will not be a very long video, so we're going to jump right into it. I happen to be looking at lathes right now, 10-12 inch lathes. Atlas Craftsman 10-12 inch lathe change gear bushing and bolt assembly. They want $40 for these. Just showed how to build the bolt, and let's look at the big pictures here. This is the completed assembly. This is this 9-69A we just built. This is the sleeve that goes on. This is the bushing. Now this is a Zamac cast bushing. I'm working on a mold for these, or a pattern for these. We'll see how well they turn out. We got a washer here and then the thick nut. So that's all there is to these. You know, used condition, second picture. You know, I don't consider these worth more than about $25. The only thing, you know, I've showed you how to build this. We'll build one of these just because we can. This is just a simple little bushing. There's nothing to it. This is a heavy washer, and then we've got a thick nut. I think in used condition, these are only worth $25, is all I consider them to be worth. So that's just for what it's worth. You know, if you gave $25 for them and then $5 shipping, $5, $6, even $8 shipping, I think that's fair. You're, you know, right in that $30 range. That's about all these are going to be worth used as far as I'm concerned. And the only thing that's a tough one is this this little bushing right here. So anyway, and it's can be overcome. You know, guys are 3D printing these. I'm just, you know, not a fan of the 3D prints, but anyway, $40 is too much. So that's a pass. There's some other stuff here. Now here's a Atlas Craftsman 6-inch 618 101 metal lathe hand wheel handle, matte satin chrome. We've looked at these before. These are brand new. Guys want $15.75 for it. This is from one of our sellers that, you know, has done nobody any favors here. This is a fixed threaded handle. Will fit Atlas 6-inch or milling attachment hand wheel, but you'll need to grind off the thread. Takes 2 minutes with a belt sander. Loctite or JB weld will hold it forever. And he gives dimensions. This is a commercially available handle. This is something that's somebody's Chinese something. The Atlas ones are a straight shank on them, straight 1/4 inch shank, and they press in. They can be Loctited in, whatever the case may be to go. The only reason I bring this one up, and we've looked at it before, is you may be tempted to thread your the hand wheel itself to accept these. I would not do that if you do choose to go this route. The reason being, I think that Zamac is soft enough. Any hand wheels you're going to put it in are going to be deteriorated to a certain degree, and I think it will tear them out. I'm assuming this is about a 5/16 thread on here. I think that's too big to be putting on those hand wheels or threading into the boss that's there for those hand wheels. So that's the only reason I bring that one up. So there we go there. Now this is a seller that's parting out a machine, obviously. He's got 4 items listed here, I think. A couple of them I don't really have a problem with, or too much of a problem with. There's a couple that I do. As usual, I can always find something wrong to bitch about. 10-inch 922A vertical countershaft motor base. This is a motor base for on the countershaft, and it is for the vertical countershaft. This is a vertical countershaft machine he's parting out. I don't necessarily recognize this seller. He wants $65, $64.97, and free shipping for this motor base. You know, it's a casting. It's one of those castings. These do get broke just because the guys will over-tension them. You know, it's a casting. Is it worth $65? I don't think so. I think these are about a $45 casting is what I think these are worth. You know, it's a good looking casting. There's nothing wrong with it. And it appears to me that he has taken the time to really clean up these parts. But, you know, I'd say this is a $45, $50 casting is all I'm going to be willing to give for these. Right above it, I'm actually working in reverse from, I've already gone down as far as I was going to go on the listings here, and I'm working backwards towards newer stuff that's been listed later. He's got the L3-20 vertical countershaft bracket. He wants $90 for, and he says in his description on all of these, he says he's not taking offers at this time, which means he's throwing out a number and seeing what's going to stick. You know, what he can, the most he can get for him. So I would leave him set anyway just to see what he does. Now this vertical countershaft, and I don't think he takes returns, and he doesn't have a tremendous amount of feedback, but he has been around a little while. Now he also says there's a couple of bonus parts left on this casting. Well, there's no bonus parts there. There's stuff that was either worthless to him that he couldn't sell otherwise, or just junk that he couldn't get off of the machine. So there's a adjuster here in the bottom, and then there's the carriage bolt that goes through, I think is all that's here on these. And it's got the threaded hand wheel lock that doesn't have the arm and the knob on it, which looks to be all scarred up when you look at it close. It wants $90 for these, as far as they're good castings. There's nothing wrong with the castings, but $90 is too much. It's a casting, you know. This, and we've seen more and more of these vertical countershafts here on Fleabay, just because guys are seeing that they're selling it, or were selling pretty hot for a while. This is about a $60 casting. It's about what it's worth. Now the ones above it, he's got two assemblies, and they're change gear assemblies. Atlas Lathe, 64 tooth, 32 tooth gear, 970A bushing, 973A sleeve change gear. He wants $95 for each of these assemblies. Now this 64 tooth, let's just look at the big pictures, and you can go back and look at them if you want. The smaller gear looks fairly good. I think it may be sharpening up a little bit down here, and you can't really tell. There's only two pictures. You kind of look at these, they're starting to point up a little bit. They're not really bad yet, but there again, change gears, I say they're only worth $15 a piece. So you got $30 worth of gear, and then he's got the assemblies in the middle with the studs, the nuts, and everything. I say they're only worth $25 used. So he's only got in this one 30, 40, $55, and he's wanting 90. So 55 and $6 shipping, you know, is about what these are worth. $5, $6 shipping. You know, if you put them in a flat rate, they're going to be what, 8, 9, something like that. They'll fit in a small flat rate box. So $55 for this one, and he's wanting 90. That's a pass, boys. That's a pass. Right above it now, he's got a 64 tooth and a 20 tooth. Same thing. You know, basically the same assembly I think he's got. And let's see what he's actually saying. 2 gears, sleeve, bolt, 2 washers, and a nut. Ask all questions before you buy. I'm not accepting offers at this time. And seller does not accept returns. $95. Well, when you look at these pictures, this inner tooth, this inner gear, this 20 tooth gear, that's a piece of shit. That's about worthless. Look at how bad the edges are rolled. Look at how sharp those are. That's a piece of junk. So you've lost $15 there. Outer gear is probably okay. You see a few markings on it, but it's probably a decent gear. But it's only worth $15. So he's got something that's worth less than $50 here, and he's wanting 90. Pass on this junk. They need to learn that they're not going to do it. Now, here's a 3AT collet adapter, Morse Taper 3 metal lathe, South Bend Atlas. This is the adapter you need to go in the headstock if you're going to run 3AT collets. And this is from a seller that sometimes does good, sometimes does bad, usually does bad. He wants $72.99 and $5.25 shipping for it. Now, if you're getting a new manufactured one that's turned to the proper dimensions, has the proper tapers on it, that's probably not a bad purchase for a brand new one. This is condition as used, and let's see if we can just see on the big pictures, and you can go back and look at these too. We got markings here. Look at how rough that outer shaft is. We don't look real nicely turned on that inner taper either. So, you know, we've got scarf marks here. Looks like somebody's ground a flat there or something. We got more wear pattern on the outside than we do here on the end, which you're going to get more wear on the outside as it sucks down anyway. But nonetheless, this you should have a nicer finish, I think, on there than that. I would speculate, yeah, I would speculate this was turned in somebody's shop, which is fine. But if you look at it from that perspective, even if you're still learning to operate your lathe and everything, you can do this good. You know, I mean, when you're starting out, you can still come up with something that's got that rough a finish on it. So, goodbye, no. And we've got an index pin to lock our collets in. That's a drilled hole with a pin pressed in. Okay, you can probably handle that. So yeah, is this another one of those that you want this piece of shit on your lathe? No, you really don't. Especially for 73 bucks. You know, if you could buy it for 25 bucks and then touch it up to actually fit your machine and true it up, then you'd probably be okay, but not for 72. Oh, there's some other stuff here. Who's selling this? We got a few things. Oh yeah, this is a fine seller here. Nice original Atlas Craftsman 10-12 inch lathe miter gear set gears. I'm not going to read any farther than the description there. If you look at these pictures close, this is a pretty ragged gear here. I didn't see, as I glanced at this earlier, why I didn't see. What do we have there? Is that broken? Maybe I better go back and read the description real quick and see what we're saying here. That looks like a, well, it doesn't say anything about damage to it. Okay, there's our first picture. Yeah, see, look at how chewed up that bevel gear is. Look at all the markings. They run crap down through there. Same thing on that one, but maybe that's the picture, but that looks like an awful big space on the right hand side between the miter gear and the other gear. Huh. Wasn't planning on looking at this one very close at all. Maybe it's just the way that picture was, but that sure looked wonky in that picture. I don't know. You can look at that for yourself if you're interested. That doesn't look very nice to me. Anyway, I said we were going to hurry along here. Right above it, same seller. Morse taper to Morse taper 2 to Morse taper 3 spindle adapter. 25 bucks. This is a used one. We can look at the big pictures on this. I glanced at this earlier. If you look close, you see a little bit of markings there. Yeah, you might have to look closer at them to see them. This did not. There we go. Look at all those nice scarf marks there. For that same 25 bucks, I bet you can buy a cheap old piece of crap imported one that will run better than that will, with all those markings on there. And I think that's about all I saw that was really of any interest to anybody. Yeah, so that's under lathes. Let's go back. If we look at shapers. 10-12 inch lathe, 7B shaper rod, S7-79, $9.95 and $6.35 shipping. That's a fair price. 15 if you've got 15, 16 bucks in that. And as I said before, the only difference is the only difference between the lathes and the shapers, some of the different applications, is this is the bushings that are in the ends. So, and you're going to replace those anyway. So if you actually need one of those, that's a fair buy. And this is from a seller that will normally stick it to you. The only other one I'm going to look at here under shapers is there is a shaper vise here. And let's just look at the big pictures here. They got a Fairmont handle with it. The problem is they want 500 bucks for it. Let's see what they actually do say here. $4.95 and $15 shipping. Now, for what you normally see, this is not a bad looking vise, and this is a proper shaper vise. Got the 4-hole base plate. You see a few little drill marks down in here and everything. All in all, this has been sitting for quite a while and it's grungy, but all in all, this is not a bad shaper vise. You know, it's the whole top of it's not chewed up. Those are probably the original Blanchard grind on the top of the jaws from looking at them. So all in all, this is not a bad looking vise. You can see it sat forever with the jaws in the closed position or semi-closed position. But and it says it's nice and tight, all that good stuff. Who knows what actual condition the lead screw is in it, or the vice screw. You know, and these were always kind of a crude vise. This one looks pretty good. Now, these hold downs are not original. Those are somebody else's added, I'm sure, from looking at those. The original ones were just a square 1/2-inch stock, I believe, that had the threads turned on the upper portion of them. They fit in the T-slots on the table, were flat on the bottom, and then had the washer and nut on top. So these have been replaced, which is not a big deal. And you can't really tell. It almost looks like there's a key in there, and there's screws there which would hold the key, and look like somebody's replacement screws there too. So all in all, this is not a bad looking vise. Is it worth 500 bucks? No, these vices are not worth 500 bucks. These are worth about 250 bucks, and I don't care what condition they are in used condition. I've been working on patterns for these, but the reality is, other than the originality of them, there's better vices out there. You know, these are usually kind of sloppy and, you know, or a little bit floppy. They do what they're intended to do, but they're not a great vice like everybody would have you believe. So that's all we saw under shapers. And under milling machines, there's a couple of milling attachments. You know, milling attachments are only worth 250, 275 bucks, and they're trying to get 320, 375 for the first couple that are listed here. And the only other thing that I'm going to look at here is a milling machine that's listed. Atlas MF horizontal milling machine, rare vintage machinist tool, 110 volt. They want 2,100 bucks. No bids on it. This is an auction. Free local pickup. And let's see, are they? Yeah, they don't look like they're wanting to ship. Rare vintage machinist tool. Rare. If you want it shipped, contact. Okay, and this is an outfit that's passing itself off as a machinery dealer. So let's see if we can just look at the big pictures on this, and you can go back and look at this if you want. This is the last one I'm going to look at. We may have looked at this before. It may have been listed. This I consider to be a parts machine. Now, I think we've looked at this one before, and I questioned why we had extra gears and stuff laying down here in front, because you don't normally have extra gears. You don't have change gears internally or that kind of stuff. So to me, this is extra parts that have been acquired, and part of them have been put on this machine, part of them haven't been. If you look at this machine closer, you'll see what I kind of point out, because I've already looked at this and spent a little bit of time. Now, this is an MF machine according to the tag, and it may very well be, but I think this is a parts machine. Overall, as you look at the pictures, I think it's had normally I would say it's been repainted. I think this has had 1 or 2 coats of whitewash on it, because this is kind of sketchy all the way around. It's been repainted, re-whitewashed, whatever we want to call it. But anyway, got a big switch box like they pulled out of the wall here on the side of the machine. This little knob here, we'll see later on, this is one of the lock knobs. It does not go there. Normally you'll just have one of the round knobs so you can open that gear cover. This handle's broken. When we look at the other end of the table, we'll see the other handle's broken. This handle's been replaced. There's no trips for the power feed on the table itself. They're gone, which isn't that unusual. You normally won't see these on a machine. A lot of times they're missing, been lost, been misplaced, whatever. The knob on the engagement for the power feed has been changed to somebody's aftermarket something or other. Let's see, this maybe is a little bit better, but not. It does have an arbor with it that's pretty rusted up. Overarm's kind of rusted up when you look at it later on. Got the arbor driver. It's no great shakes there. We only have one overarm bar lock. You know, the other one would be back here. There's only one of them. Let's move right on because we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. We look at the side now. What it does have is this is the mounting bracket for the factory coolant assemblies. I have one of these mounted on mine, but mine is shop built. I built a casting for this and just cast one up, built the bar for it, and this mounting bracket is the same lead screw bracket that goes on the right hand end of the 1/6" lathe. So that's the lead screw bracket. Now it's been modified a little bit, but it's the same casting. This has been painted or whitewashed. You look, this arm would have been left unfinished. You know, normally they're a plain metal. Here you can see on this end, this hand wheel's broken. And there again, probably better view that this knob's been, or this little handle's been changed on the hand wheel. Got the later style back gear shifter. It's got the plunger in the middle, and I looked at these closer, so like I say, you can go back and look. Now this machine may be basically correct. It may be a transition machine. The MF normally I consider to be the earlier machine, and it's got some stuff on here that I see from on both, you know, from both or all three eras of when this machine was manufactured. This motor is not the original motor. We've got a shaft out on this end where it would have only been a single-ended shaft, would have been out on the other end with the pulley, and was originally a switch here, which has been gone. So this was on some sort of other machine, whether it was a table saw, whether it was a grinder, or one of the Atlas hacks. I mean, I have no idea what it was on, but this is not the original motor to this machine. Now, if you look closer, this does have, maybe they're transition guards, maybe this is a morphodite that somebody's put together. This will be either a 401 or I believe this is probably a 401A guard. The machine on my guard is a 401. It's the earlier MF guards. The reason I say this may be a transition is the B series guards, the 401 and 402B, this side guard that we'll look at later swings out to the side. This is one of the guards that looks to be the 402 guard, but it's got the clamp here like the earlier 401 and 402 guards had. So this one did not pivot out, it just clamped here. These were prone to breakage, and mine, the one that's on mine right now, has broken out and was repaired before I got it. It took me a few years to figure out exactly what was supposed to be there, but anyway, this one clamps onto the end of the cross shaft here that the upper guard pivots on. I believe when we look at later pictures, we'll see that this one's been repaired too. I think it was probably broken and repaired. Same picture. Same picture again in closer here. You got a little better view of that clamping system on the end. You can see that handle's definitely broken. You can see the switch plate for that is missing, and a little better picture of that back gear lever, which has got the spring-loaded plunger on there. The early MS did not have that, or the first generation, I guess we'll call them. Nothing to see here, but yeah, this knob, normally that's either a knob for on here, could have been the knob to hold the overarm cover guard that's not there. Those will thread on there. What's proper for here would have been one of these knobs, or one of these knobs here is what should have been on that door. There you can see that fine whitewash paint job, you know, and all of these screws, it's missing this one, but all the screws holding all the plates on, both this one, and the actual Atlas badge that would sit down below here, those have all been put on with screws. So they were pulled off at some point in time when the machine was painted, I guess. You can see where it was, they tried to pry it up here off of that door there, it looks like. This is somebody's homemade drawbar. there. But the paint, you can tell it's been painted, but it's a crap job. You know, you had your 8-year-old out there with his whitewash can. So yeah, this machine is no great shakes, whatever. Yeah, it's a 3212 serial number, which is still relatively early, but this may have been a transition machine. The guarding may be correct on here. See, this is a later casting that had the coolant tank inside. It's missing the cover here on this end. And you can see if you look in right here, that looks to be a repair there. So I believe this was, if this is the proper guarding for this machine, it's been broken and welded back up. Something's been done to try and make it right. Yet our guards don't match. You know, we should have some sort of a decent line, yet we're sitting down all the way. So I think, I would speculate these guards are an afterthought. This to me has all the appearances of being a parts machine. So just my 2 cents worth. The motor on it was a Dunlop, which would have come from Sears. And you know, you don't know having well, the motor was changed out. The motor came off of something else and was put on. So this machine is no great shakes. This machine is a $1,200 machine. You know, they want $2,100. It's worth $12. It's not worth any more than that. So anyway, that's all I got for you today, guys. Hopefully you find this entertaining mildly. I'm gonna spend the rest of the morning trying to edit my other video, and I will get it out either later today or tomorrow probably. And comment suggestions, leave in the comment section for me below. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.